Hi everybody. In today's lesson we're going to be looking at cross-price elasticity of demand. So the first thing we'll want to do is talk about what this means. It's labeled as XED, and the X stands for across, and sometimes you'll see it say cross elasticity of demand. What they really mean is cross-price elasticity of demand. And what this is, because it's an elasticity formula, it's a measure of responsiveness. And so that's what we need to figure out first, is that what are we trying to measure the responsiveness of? Between which variables are we trying to measure responsiveness? So the answer to that is that we're looking at the responsiveness of quantity demanded for one product, which we'll refer to as good A moving forward, following the change in the price of another product, which is good B. So this is a little bit different from price elasticity of demand, because remember, with price elasticity of demand, we're looking at the responsiveness of the product's quantity demanded to its own price change. But now what we're interested in is looking at different products and the relationship between them. When the price of one product changes, what happens to the quantity demanded for that other product? Of course, we'll want to put that in a formula. And so that formula, the long version of the formula, as you can say, cross elasticity of demand or cross price elasticity of demand, is the percentage change in quantity demanded for good A divided by the percentage change in the price of good B. And of course, you'll want to put that into shorthand. I think it's a bit easier to just remember it as a shorthand. You can always write this down on any examination and it will get you the full marks. The XED is equal to percentage delta QD of good A divided by percentage delta P of good B. So again, a bit of a mouthful still to look at that big formula, but it gets the point across. The point being that we're trying to measure the proportional response of our quantity demanded. That's why we put it as a percentage change over the proportional response of the proportional change in a price for another product. We're going to talk now about how we interpret these figures. And so we're just going to do a couple of thought experiments here. Let's say that we've got these two products, good A and good B. They could be two products in different markets. And we're just going to try to have a go to say, well, what is the relationship between them? And so let's say that if good A, let's say they have a price increase for good A. Now, a price increase in good A will mean that we would expect the quantity demanded for that product to go down. Remember, there is a negative relationship between price and quantity of the product for itself. If the price of a product goes up, you'll expect fewer people to buy it. Diminishing marginal utility, substitution, and income effects being the explanation there. But we don't yet know how it is that it's going to affect other products. And so let's say that good B, let's say that people switch off of the product A and they start to use good B because they think, okay, the price of good A is higher. I don't want that product so much anymore. I'm going to find something else to use. And so therefore, here's good B, I'm going to use that. So what that would mean then is the quantity demanded of good B would go up, right? What does this suggest about the relationship between good A and good B? It suggests that because more people are now using good B instead of good A, we would call these sorts of products substitutes for each other. It suggests that good A and good B are substitutes for each other because we've stopped using so much of good A following the price increase for that product, and we're now looking for something else. So ceteris paribus, meaning that as long as the price of the other good hasn't changed, which we're assuming, we would say, okay, well, yeah, we'll switch off of that more expensive good now. We'll start buying more of this one. That implies that they're substitutes for each other, like Coke and Pepsi, and so therefore we'll see that response. And that means that the XED relationship between the two of them is positive, right? And that's what we're measuring. We're measuring as the price of good A goes up, then the quantity demanded of good B goes up as well. And that's a positive relationship. Or vice versa, the good A, the price could go down, and then we'd expect the quantity demanded for good B to go down as well. It's just the same logic in reverse. I don't know very much about football, but a nice little memory trick that I use to remember this is that in football, if you bring on a substitute onto the pitch, that's a positive thing, fresh legs. And it's just a handy little thing where I think, okay, therefore substitutes are positive. Let's take a look at another thought experiment now. Same two theoretical goods, good A and good B. or they could be, well, let's say they're different from Coke and Pepsi. So that we just got two new goods here. And we're saying, okay, same thing. If the price of good A goes up, we will still expect the quantity demanded for, for good A, for itself, to go down again. There's no change there. But let's say now that because people stop using good A, maybe they also stop using the other products that are used with good A. So think about those sorts of products. What sorts of products would they be? We'll have to have some context for that. But if there are any products which are used together, where it's, good A and good B are together, we would expect then that quantity demanded for those goods which are used, which if they are good B, we would expect those products to have a decrease in their quantity demanded, right? So what we're saying is the price of one good has gone up. People aren't using that good so much, and so therefore the quantity demanded for those other goods which are used together with the goods goes down. This suggests that people are using good B along with good A. They're used together. We have a word for that. We've seen it before on influences of demand, is that it would suggest that good A and good B are complements for each other. Remember the idea of tennis balls and tennis rackets. And I think that works here, right? As you say, the price of this good of tennis rackets has gone up. So nobody wants to buy the tennis rackets. If no one's buying the tennis rackets, then some people are buying tennis balls in order to play tennis. And because fewer people are playing tennis because of the increased price of tennis rackets, we'll see fewer tennis balls being sold. And therefore, we can say that with these complementary goods, with the complement goods, the XED relationship is negative because as the price of this one good goes up, then the quantity demanded for good B goes down. It's quite useful, I think, to have a number line for this topic, so that if you see a good, you can immediately think, right, where do I put this on the number line, and how do I interpret the value of that XED figure? And so I would suggest that we do it the same way that we did with income elasticity of demand, and we just look at these sort of four different sections from minus infinity, to plus infinity, and looking at the relationship between -1, 0, and 1. So the first thing to say is that we're still talking about the relative strength of the change. How responsive is one thing to the other? And that's where we'd say something is either going to be a weak or a strong complement or substitute. If it's inelastic, that means it's not very responsive. We change the price of one product and the quantity demanded for the other product doesn't really change very much at all. So therefore, the closer we are to zero, the less responsive it is, and the more inelastic you could say that it is. So anything in this zone here where the absolute value of the figure is less than 1, which is to say between -1 and 1, those are going to be inelastic figures. Anything where the absolute value of the figure is above 1, which is to say between 1 and infinity or between -1 and minus infinity, those are going to be elastic. And what that means is that we have then strong relationships. So like, this one would be strong complements if it's between minus infinity and -1. And this down here would be strong substitutes if it's between 1 and infinity. And so therefore what that means is that's the elasticity interpretation, which is to say the strength of the relationship. Is it a strong or a weak complement or substitute? And then we just need to make sure that we understand that we have two different sections. It's either going to be a negative relationship, and as we've seen before, a negative relationship means that it's a complementary product, and a positive relationship means that it is a substitute. So remember, substitutes in football is a positive thing, so we can always put substitutes in this section here. We'll leave it there for the explanation of that concept. I hope you found that useful. If you did, please make sure that you give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and comment for more economics content.